Support for your fantastic mind, provided by Southern Company Foundation.
Welcome to Your Fantastic Mind. I'm Jay Watson, and welcome to a favorite time of day in Atlanta after the rush hour has ended. Commuting is stressful. Consider that the average person spends over the course of their lives some 484 days in traffic. And then COVID-19 hit America, and a lot of us weren't commuting anymore. We weren't stuck in traffic, but we were living with a whole new type of stress. Illness, job loss, fear of the virus, political division and upheaval in our country. So we're going to take a deep dive into the science of stress, what it does to our bodies and our brains, how it impacts our sleep, how we can even pass it to the next generation. But we begin this week with proven solutions to help you manage stress.
Very distracted today. Hi, I'm Alicia.
It's a challenging role.
Actually, is it okay to talk?
Actors playing the part of people
knowing how the mind works
at a meditation retreat.
I'm excited to experience the silence.
Hi, I'm Joan.
People you're watching are coming to a silent retreat. They go to class every day and their instructor will speak, but the rest of them are at a silent retreat.
Small Mouth Sounds is a play that was at the Alliance Theater. And to help the actors get into character, to better understand the world of meditation.
Seeing and feeling how night follows day.
Emory brain health researcher and meditation expert, psychologist Dr. Abby Lott.
Uncomfortable emotions that might come up.
Visits rehearsal.
Thanks for having me, everybody. I'm Abby Lott. So go ahead and just get into a comfortable position. And I want you to go ahead and start.
Dr. Lott leads the actors in a guided meditation.
A centered, grounded, unmoving presence.
Followed by discussion.
So mindfulness is just being aware in the present moment in a non-judgmental way, right? And that can look like a lot of different things, but is surprisingly hard and challenging to do.
Hi again, Dr. Lott.
Since we first spent time with Dr. Lott, the COVID-19 pandemic arrived, and with it, a third of Americans reporting increased depression and anxiety.
I think meditation and mindfulness is even more important now.
But for many, it feels impossible when worry is overwhelming, when people have lost jobs and are sick. We numb out by binging TV, social media, food, and alcohol. We replay things from our past or obsess about the future, being everywhere but the present, because the present these days isn't very fun either.
One of my biggest recommendations during this time is that you need to embrace the chaos and be flexible in your practice.
Dr. Lott says start with 1 minute, just one, maybe first thing in the morning.
So giving yourself just a minute when it feels like 5 minutes is too much or 3 minutes is too much, even giving yourself 1 minute and seeing what happens, right? Being able to pay attention, notice what's going on in your body, notice where your mind is going and where your anxieties lie. Giving yourself that space and time, even 1 minute makes a difference.
The list of benefits of meditation are growing, as is its popularity. Between 1995 and 1997, there was one randomized controlled trial on meditation. Between 2013 and 2015, there were 216. A few of the outcomes of those trials: meditation can help us deal with pain, depression, anxiety. It can enhance our creativity, help us sleep, have better focus, make fewer mistakes, and increase productivity at work. Studies have even shown that meditation can actually grow gray matter, thickening the brain in regions associated with memory, sense of self, empathy, and stress.
There is really good data to show that it helps and is effective at reducing people's level of stress, reducing worry and kind of rumination, kind of constantly thinking about problems. Enhances people's sort of emotional awareness and awareness of thoughts and kind of how that stuff is all connected and what we can, and really increases one's sense of self-control.
The Pew Center for Research says 40% of Americans report meditating once a week. The reality is that we as a society are stressed more than ever, and we are rarely in the present moment.
We spend our lives in autopilot, right, where we're just kind of going through the motions, don't even really know how we got to work in the morning, right? Which way did I take today?
Every time you sit to meditate, it's a different experience. And as soon as you close the eyes, just start to bring the awareness to the breath.
The benefits of meditation are now backed up with hundreds of studies and brain images that show the changes.
I think the problem is it actually takes work, right? And so it's not one of those, everyone's looking for the magic pill for how to not feel stressed.
Meditation often focuses on the breath or a mantra. Making it a daily routine, even for a few minutes, can make a big difference long term. People misunderstand and think they should have no thoughts while meditating, that they have to clear their mind.
But it's also about being able to build your attention muscle, essentially. And you can think about it like, if I have 1,000 thoughts one day when I'm meditating, actually, I just did 1,000 reps. As long as I caught myself, noticed, and brought it back.
People who have never meditated before think that I can't meditate because I can't quiet my mind and stop thinking, right? And that's not at all what meditation is about. It is about being able to actually work with your mind and with your thinking process and really bring more ease into your life. Each exhale out, just see if you can relax the body a little bit more.
It's not about how many times your mind wanders or how many thoughts you have. It's actually just that act of noticing that that's where it's going, non-judgmentally, and bringing your attention back. And what can be really neat is actually just noticing and being more aware of where your mind does go. Increases your awareness of the thoughts that come up for you about what you want to hold on to and what you are fine with letting pass by.
People often ask, what's the difference between meditation and mindfulness?
Meditation is one way that you can be in the present moment in a non-judgmental way, right? And it's a very focused approach. But mindfulness itself is simply being in the present moment in a non-judgmental way and in a purposeful way. And so you can do anything mindfully.
Dr. Lott says you can take a mindful shower, noticing the sound and feel of the water. Or you can leave your phone at home and take a mindful walk with your dog, noticing the feeling as your feet strike the ground, the sounds and smells and colors around you. You can do anything this way. Believe it or not, you can even mindfully wash the dishes.
Noticing what the soap feels like between your fingers as you're washing the dishes.
We often can't change our circumstances, but committing to meditation and mindfulness can lead to less suffering.
The idea of mindfulness is that by being in the present moment and being able to experience things as they are without trying to change them, rush through them, hold on to them, that it actually can reduce and has been shown to reduce sort of the negative experiences that you have in those moments and can really enhance your ability to enjoy things in a different way.
I want you to hold me. Oh, hold me closer. Closer. Closer.
If I hold you any closer, I'll be in back of you.
You've heard the saying, laughter is the best medicine. Emory University neuroscientists have discovered a pathway in the brain that, when electrically stimulated, causes immediate laughter, followed by a sense of calm and happiness, even during awake brain surgery.
It's a really good feeling.
The effects of stimulation were in an epilepsy patient who had electrodes placed in her brain to record her brain activity and help locate where her seizures began. Neurosurgeon Dr. John Willey headed up the study, which showed the same results in 2 other patients.
So instead what we did was we came from the back and went down this area of the brain called the cingulate cortex. And our electrode, a large portion of it ended up in a structure called the cingulum bundle, which, if you can imagine, it's like a superhighway for the frontal lobe. And it's a deep one related to the parts of the brain that have to do with attention, social interaction, motivation, emotion. It's this superhighway where things are constantly getting on and getting off to go to different parts of the brain. We had a suspicion that this was an area that if we studied it would alter mood and anxiety. We weren't expecting such a robust effect in this particular patient.
This technique is a transformative way to calm some patients during awake brain surgery. Finding this spot in the brain, not just for laughter, but the amazing anti-anxiety effects, could help people in many different ways.
We hope that it's going to help lead us to a better understanding of potential targets for treating things like anxiety and depression with neuromodulation.
Are traumatic incidents in our lives more than just that? Can they actually become part of us and get passed on to our children and our children's children? A growing body of research is proving just that. Called intergenerational trauma, several events in history provide compelling examples. Take, for example, the Civil War. UCLA researchers studied the health records of 4,600 children born after the war to Union soldiers who had been POWs in horrific conditions, subjected to starvation. The sons of those POWs were 11% more likely to die at any given age after 45 years old than the sons of non-POW veterans, showing that events in someone's life can affect the lives of the next generation. Dr. Brian Dias is an Emory University and Yerkes National Primate Research Center neuroscientist studying intergenerational trauma.
And so epigenetics is one of the new frontiers that's allowing us to understand how the environment interacts with our genetic book of life.
This book of life, our DNA, has instructions for making our eyes green or our hair wavy. And epigenetics is the way those genes are turned on and off. Things that happen to us in our lives cause tiny chemical tags to be added or removed from our DNA. These tags turn those genes on or off.
Under supervision of the American Red Cross.
One of the most striking examples in literature are studies with descendants of Holocaust survivors. And what researchers have shown is that these descendants of Holocaust survivors, even if they did not experience the Holocaust themselves, those descendants had lower levels of a stress hormone compared to descendants of individuals who did not experience the Holocaust.
The joke is that our parents or grandparents used to walk uphill both ways, sometimes in the snow, to school. It seems that every generation thinks the ones that come after them have it too easy. The truth is, when our parents or grandparents tell us about their life struggles, it does influence us. But intergenerational trauma is different. It's not transmitted socially, it's biological. Things that happen to us in our lives can change our eggs and sperm.
The leading candidate for what carries information across generations are these tiny molecules called RNA, which we find in sperm and we find in eggs. And what I want you to think about is RNA being puppeteers. They're orchestrating, they're puppeteering how genes might be read or not as the embryo develops. You can have an embryo developing one way and the brain wiring one way, for example, to allow for a mental health state to develop in adulthood, or you could have the embryo develop another way, the brain wiring another way, to allow for a protective effect. And so that's how we think intergenerational influences of stress are actually perpetuating across generations.
If the trauma happens when a woman is pregnant, it can cause changes to the developing baby.
Which way to go?
Researchers at Mount Sinai School of Medicine studied pregnant women present during the September 11th attacks on the World Trade Center. The women who developed post-traumatic stress disorder passed on PTSD markers to their babies, unlike babies whose mothers did not develop PTSD. As the research grows, so does our understanding of trauma throughout history, from genocide to wars to famine to slavery. They leave a mark on the descendants of those who suffered.
What I would like to talk to you about this morning is how we think that experience is registered by biological systems and then how that might filter into how we perceive the world.
Dr. Dias is part of the Emory Tibet Science Initiative. He teaches neuroscience to Tibetan Buddhist monks and nuns. In 2016, he talked to the Dalai Lama about his research.
What we now understand is that these traumas are laying down marks, or they're removing marks in the sperm or in the egg, and that sets up the future generations to bear these imprints of ancestral trauma.
And now the COVID-19 pandemic has gripped the globe. Will this lead to intergenerational trauma?
For intergenerational influences of stress to perpetuate across generations, they have to be extremely jarring, and they have to perpetuate, and they have to persist for a long period of time, both of which are conditions that COVID seems to check off.
Dr. Dias says children who might be exposed to COVID-related stressors could be vulnerable in this pandemic because of impacts on their developing brains. Dias also says that because we don't have a measurable sense for how parents' behavior and the sperm and eggs of childbearing age people will be affected by COVID-related stress, speculation on how COVID will impact future generations is just that for now. The decades to come will slowly prove out how this time in our world changed us and our descendants.
There's a healthy body of research in the stress field about whether a stress is controllable or not controllable, and whether it's predictable versus unpredictable. And with COVID, we are firmly in the unpredictable and uncontrollable realm. The uncontrollability and the unpredictability of COVID at this point will result in detrimental influences of stress which could perpetuate for a long, long time to come.
The thought that we have inherited the trauma of our parents and grandparents, and the thought that the trauma we experience could impact our children and their children is overwhelming. But remember, there is nature and there is nurture, and nurture is powerful too.
Whenever we talk about intergenerational influences of stress or trauma, people often think about the gloom and doom that it spells for future generations. What our research is showing is that the die is not cast. We can reverse the influences of intergenerational stress and trauma in several ways.
Dr. Dias says having rich social groups, practicing mindfulness, even dietary interventions can help. So can putting good out into the world.
Just as you can perpetuate negativity about stress and trauma, maybe there's the potential to perpetuate the positive aspects of kindness and compassion and empathy. And so my call to action to everyone is in our own little worlds to maybe engage in that small act of kindness, of compassion, of empathy.
I grew up here in La Jolla, and I've been surfing here since I was 9 years old. I'm 56 now, and this is what I do. This makes me happy.
Mickey Miner is a lifer.
Surfing is my life. It's what makes me tick, keeps me happy, keeps me stable, centered.
John Sneed discovered surfing when he moved to California after college more than 25 years ago.
It's an immersive experience, helps me forget about the day.
If you can get to a beach and have the courage to get on a board, it could benefit your brain. Science is showing that surfing can lead to feelings of calmness, can help ease stress, anxiety, and depression. The U.S. Navy's in the middle of a $1 million research project that began 2 years ago and will finish later this year, investigating the therapeutic potential of surfing for military personnel with PTSD, depression, or sleep problems. Surfing's already being used in some veterans programs located in coastal areas. Early results showed that study participants who surfed at least once a week for 6 weeks reported decreased negative emotions and increased positive emotions.
Yeah, even if the waves are crummy and it's windy and cloudy, just to paddle out and get in the water, and I'm instantly at peace. lowers my blood pressure and makes me happy.
Disconnected from their phones and their life responsibilities for a little while, surfers will tell you, in the ocean, there is no option not to be in the moment.
Like if there's a set of waves coming in and there's some size to it, you can't really think about anything else but what you need to do in the moment. You know, you have to make smart decisions, you have to make them quickly, and then once you're on the wave, it's fast reaction times. And there's a lot of endorphins, and obviously there's a lot of adrenaline running. You get hooked on it. Late drops, big waves.
One study found that surfers overall report fewer symptoms of depression and anxiety than the general population. It concluded that surfers describe the surfing sensation as a hybrid of meditative and athletic experience. Several studies link meditative experience and exercise with reduced depression and anxiety.
Like here it is Sunday, that's my church right there. So I can sit and talk to God and pray or joke around with old friends.
What if you can't get to the beach? Get to the forest. The Navy is also studying hike therapy, but several studies, including one from Stanford University, have already shown that being in the great outdoors reduces stress, calms anxiety, and can lead to a lower risk of depression. When you need definitive answers about why you can't sleep, spending a night in a sleep center and being monitored is one way to get those answers. The National Institutes of Health reports almost 100 million Americans complain about sleep disruption, and one of the top reasons given, stress. In a global pandemic, many of us are stressed more than ever.
When you're stressed, you release stress hormones that makes it more difficult to fall asleep at night because, those are hormones that increase your heart rate and increase your blood pressure and, make your mind more alert.
Doctors are getting mixed sleep reports these days. Some people say they're sleeping more because they're working from home, not sitting in traffic every morning. But there are a lot of us struggling to sleep. Head of Emory Brain Health Sleep Center, Dr. Nancy Collop.
There's a lot of people who are stressed. They don't have a job or they have to have a job and take care of kids at home, or they're worried about a loved one that's in a nursing home or what have you. And so there's a lot of stress that's also disrupting sleep.
Researchers at UC Berkeley have shown that a full night's sleep stabilizes our emotions, but a single sleepless night can trigger up to a 30% rise in anxiety levels. Deep sleep, non-rapid eye movement sleep, is best at calming and resetting an anxious brain. During this deep sleep, connections in the brain are reorganized, dropping heart rates and blood pressure, preparing you for the next day. People are also drinking more during this pandemic.
Alcohol is probably one of the most used sleep aids in the world. Matter of fact, in people over the age of 60, it probably is the highest. Most use hypnotic agent. Alcohol is pretty good to help you fall asleep, but what happens with alcohol is once it starts to wear out of your system, it actually makes your sleep more fragmented. So while you might get a good hour or two when you fall asleep, after that, the sleep actually becomes quite a bit worse.
So, how to manage stress and get sleep? Meditation and mindfulness have been shown to help. So has basic sleep hygiene, avoiding alcohol, caffeine, exercise, and screens like your phone or tablet before bed. Done earlier in the day, exercise helps us sleep and relieve stress. Many people also write out a worry list before they get in bed.
I had one gentleman, he goes through his prior golf game and tries to remember every stroke that he had. For me, that would be way too many strokes and way too stressful to remember it. But the idea is you're trying to distract your brain from what it wants to be focused on. Sometimes people like do progressive muscle relaxation. Again, they've used some meditation techniques and what have you, but you can either like start at your toes and tense and relax and then work your way up, or you can just concentrate on relaxing them. These are all distraction techniques, but they're often quite effective. Even sleep doctors sometimes have sleep problems.
Dr. Collip shares a few of her personal sleep hacks when she can't get shut-eye.
One very simple one that I'll try is like take the day before that you just finished, start at the beginning of that day and wind through that day like a video in your head, like exactly what you did. So my alarm went off at 6:30 and I got out of bed and I took a shower and I washed my hair and then I put on my bathrobe and so in as meticulous detail as you can. And like I tell people, if your life is as boring as mine, you'll be asleep before noon.
We hope we've given you a few new tools to help you deal with stress. And remember what Dr. Lott said about being mindful. You can do it anywhere. And with the year we're having, now would be a pretty good time to start. That's going to do it for us this week. See you next time on Your Fantastic Mind.
Support for Your Fantastic Mind, provided by Southern Company Foundation.